All right, guys, we are back again with COVID Cabal Season 2, COVID Cabal. And the drama is happening. People are freaking out. It's another day on the internet. It's another day in the manosphere. If you are watching this show right now, drop a comment in the chat. Drop a comment in the chat. I want to hear from you. I want to hear you. I want to hear you guys freaking out in the chat. I want to see neurotic behavior. I want to see panicking people. I want to hear doomers. I want to hear haters. I want to hear everybody who thinks the world's ending. I want to hear it. Drop it in the chat. Let me know how fucking mentally ill you are. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I have a lot of guys, a lot of friends not feeling good about this. Just clowning a little bit on you guys. Um, but I'm only clowning a little bit on you guys. You guys gotta chill out. You guys gotta chill out, okay? As you guys know, I have been through the ringer. I've been through the ringer with my plan trusting. Still trusting. Look, you gotta say this about me at the very least, right? Whether you agree with me or you disagree with me. If you think I get some comments from people like, "Oh, you went to prison, you lost this money, well, like, oh, you're coping." Like, dude, like I fucking earned my stripes. If I want to be if I want to go down as a plan truster, people can say, "Wow, he really fucking trusting." Like this guy's really trusting the plan. If he can go through all this, you know, not lose a wink on the whole situation. But I'm gonna go into all this stuff with you. Okay, we're gonna break down some of the things that are going on. Um, Today is we'll be celebrating Father's Day in Poland today. So we'll be going to dinner soon. I was at a solstice party last night. I was gifted this lovely Saumur Champigny. I tried it last night. Absolutely beautiful wine. I did pour a glass for the show, even though we're a little early tonight. Because but people Poland drink earlier usually. But I am not going to do any kind of wine talk about it yet. Maybe I'll interlude because, guys, I put this wine in the fridge, because it slows the reactivity with oxygen so that the wine doesn't, you know, doesn't oxidize, doesn't overage too fast because I didn't know, if we were how long I'd have to try to keep the wine good. But the other thing about when a wine is too cold, there's like the room temperature, there's like the serving temperature, which for like a red wine is like 58 degrees, 56 degrees. Ideal serving temperature. Whites are typically lower, like 48, 52. This this wine is too cold. So what I mean is that like there's nothing coming up off of it. It's drinking it is just not even pleasant. There's nothing distinct about it. That's what happens when you drink a red wine that's too cold. So I'm gonna let it warm up. I'm gonna cozy this cup a bit until things get better. But look, guys, let's get into this, okay? Let's get into the show. So first I'm gonna say hi to the chat here. If you guys are watching, drop a comment in the chat. I want to hear all of your neurotic, hysterical takes and freakouts. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. What's good? What's good? Wife asked me if I'm even drafted. I said, nah. We're not letting you go, man. We're not letting you go. It's not happening to you. Salheen, it's good to see you, man. Are beers the same way? They taste nothing like when they're freezing cold. Well, beers just don't have typically the nuance and flavor profile that wine does. Like the snob come out of me. But yeah, I mean anything that's cold, right? Food, like anything cold doesn't create as much aroma or smell because heat actually causes like the particulates that come off of it. When you smell something, you're actually like inhaling it. So when you smell a fart, for instance, you're actually like you've inhaled shit. That's how you smelled it. So, but one of the things you notice, right, is that you don't like when it's cold out, you don't like bad thing, like nasty stuff doesn't really smell that bad because it doesn't. So it's the same with anything. It's the same with anything. When it's very hot, you get a lot of the smell. But the problem, of course, if you have like a really warm, the wine was really hot, then like you lose all the nuance with the profile. So Trump bombed Iran last night, and people freaking out about it. You know what's interesting? I used to do this thing, right, where I was like, "Did you feel that energy shift? Did you feel that energy shift?" Because, I was probably totally fucking lunatic mode, but maybe I wasn't. Maybe there was something to it because seriously, last night, no reason whatsoever. I was up at like 2:45 a.m. Poland time. It's basically exactly when this raid happened. Like very, very. I don't know the exact time, but I know that when I finally did get out of bed and I went and checked my phone, it was like holy crap! Like literally, it was around when I woke up that the raid happened. So I got woken up. I couldn't go to sleep. I'm running on caffeine right now, and I'm wearing a linen shirt. It's summertime. I'm like that fucking guy Thomas Skinner in London, man. I'm just vibing. You know what I mean? I'm vibing right now. Everybody on the internet's freaking out. I'm vibing. And the reason I'm vibing is pretty simple. Okay. So this entire conversation, where we go with this, what you think, all depends on certain sets of assumptions, right? This is true with anything in life. It's true with your attitude towards how you live. It's true with how you interpret reality. Everybody has assumptions, and the assumptions then affect the worldview. So when people have a big paradigm shift, it's because one of the core assumptions that their life was based on gets undermined, right? So, for instance, the reason shit libs are so fucking Looney Tunes right now, they've lost it, is because they have these set of assumptions that have been programmed into them that are foundational to their worldview, which is, Trump is Hitler, right? Trump is, the worst thing in the world, and blah 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 blah. And so when you have this whole paradigm, they have to then try to interpret that if Trump's terrible, that means people who oppose him are good, right? For the most part, except they are pedophiles and they support terrorism and sex trafficking and mutilating children, and they're fucking retarded, and go on and go on and go on. The entire Democratic Party platform, which is basically flood the world with third world migrants who take from the welfare state and sexually assault and harm the population. That's their policy platform. So as a shit lib, you have all these assumptions. And you're like, but I have this assumption that Trump is terrible. Therefore, but what? So they're losing it. Okay. So we all have assumptions. And whether you agree with what I am going to say in this show or in subsequent shows is going to depend on what assumptions that you hold, right? So there are a lot of people who basically forever, have assumed that because Trump is a Republican and because he has, let's say, made deals with Zionists, that Trump ergo is a Zionist, right? That Trump is basically indistinguishable from Lindsey Graham. And therefore, every action that Trump takes is essentially, if Trump says something good about Israel, he's a Zionist. Assumption embedded into the equation. And now you never have any other. So when you see something like Netanyahu praises Trump, Trump's a Zionist. See, we told you. Trump bombs Iran. See, Netanyahu's happy. Trump's a Zionist. There's a program there. Now I'm not going to say that I don't have a program too. I have a program, right? I have a program, and my program is that Trump is at war with the deep state and the globalists, which the Zionists are a part of, and he is 100% all in for his life with that, and he understands the enemy very clearly, and is also, tactically speaking, a master of deception and strategic ambiguity. Okay, art of war, right? It's all war is deception. That is Trump's MO. This is why he is what he is. So if you have my set of assumptions, which is that Trump actually is trying to root this globalist power structure out of the United States and frankly the rest of the world, that this is in some sense we are already at war with this group, and that this is a liberation movement, this is a fight, right? And that this is an existential fight, then you are going to view this situation through a very different lens. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to say this. I think that the chips stack way higher on my side of the equation than they stack on the side of the equation that Trump bombed Iran, therefore he's a Zionist. I don't understand. I'm gonna be a little ranty right now. I don't understand how you look at somebody who is truly this single focus of hatred for all of these people, literally all of these people, all the people that we hate, they despise Trump with an obsession that they have tried to put him in prison. They stole the election from him. They tried to put him in prison. They tried to kill him twice that we know of. So how is it that people can see all this stuff and then they just immediately go to Trump's a Zionist, they got something on Trump. I really think this is fucking lazy. I think it's lazy thinking. I think it's actually like a little childish. Just is my opinion. And I think it's to some extent a little dishonorable because you have somebody who's clearly put his neck on the line and you have this cynical view of it. It's a baby view. Sorry, I understand people who don't agree with what Trump's done. I get that. I get people who are very cautious, who don't like the way it's going, who are nervous about where it's going. And I also understand concerns more broadly in the administration that is there something blocking progress? I think Cernovich has done, for instance, a really good job of walking this line a little bit, right? In the sense that, why haven't we seen disclosure about Epstein or whatever from Cash and Bondi, right? I think that, like he said very fairly, it's not that Cash Patel or Dan Bongino, it's not that these people are captured individuals. It's not that they are true blue fighters, but if maybe something's blocking them from putting it out there. This to me is a reasonable division. It's not plan trusting, but it's reasonable. It's reasonable because you're saying, well, these are good people, but they're not doing it. So plan truster thinks they're not doing it because they can't yet or they want to wait. More skeptical says they're being blocked, they can't do it. They actually both could be frankly correct. There's elements of both here because it is an active conflict, and it may be that Cash is actually, it's not just a matter of waiting because they want to wait. It may be that they actually are not able to do it because of something that's blocking them. Totally could be true. I know I'm somewhat separate topic, but I'm just trying to set this whole stage. But to just be like, Trump's captured, I think that the harshest thing you can say about Trump in this situation is you can say he's being held hostage by Zionists. That is to me the furthest you can go without acting like a clown. It's my perspective. Because it doesn't make any sense. Like it's like if it's like somebody saying, "Oh, Pat Stedman's actually he's a CIA operative." Because look at his Zionist pose right now. Pat Stedman's a Zionist. He must be on Israel's payroll. I went to fucking prison for a year. Well, it doesn't mean that you're not. And actually, by the way, there are some J6ers who maybe are, but the point is, like, there are a lot of reasons why people do certain things. I think it's possible, and actually, I do think it is part of the equation. For instance, when we are talking about Trump's big beautiful bill, right? Big beautiful bill. This bill was not getting passed, guys. It was not getting passed. They were slow rolling this to extinction. And ever since the Iran stuff, Trump moved forward militarily, what happened? Lindsey Graham moves it out of committee. And Rand Paul's bullshit starts to get sidelined, and we're starting to move towards this bill passing, okay? So if you actually care about the number one issue facing all Western nations, which is mass migration, absolutely, no question, mass migration. If this is your number one priority, then you need that bill passed, okay? You need the bill passed. And so, frankly, if this entire thing is just as simple as we needed Trump to bomb Iran so we could get deportations, I'm all for it, man. I don't give a fuck. I want the deportations to happen. If we have to bomb Iran to get the deportations, I'm okay with that. That's how much it matters to me. I know that obviously most people are concerned that it's going to deflect from that. But I'm saying this rhetorically, okay? And I do think that this was a variable. Trump is not controlled. He is not controlled by the Zionists. But he may be constrained by them because the overwhelming majority of his party is completely bought and paid for. We know this. Look at Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is probably one of the better conservatives, right? He's one of the better conservatives that we have in the Republican Party. I don't despise Ted Cruz like I despise many of these Republicans. Ted Cruz voted against the certification of the election. He was one of like 9 senators that did this. Ted Cruz looked retarded, absolutely retarded on Tucker Carlson's show. Like, totally stupid. And I don't think that he genuinely believes what he's saying, even though I do believe Ted Cruz is a Christian and maybe he comes from a dispensationalist camp. It's very hard for me to believe he's truly that stupid to think that this is, I don't know if they have something on him or if he just really owes them. If they're calling in the favor, our Congress is owned broadly by Israel. You're not going to hear me not say this stuff, but there's a big difference between Congress and President Trump. Okay? Netanyahu was the first foreign president or, figure to congratulate Joe Biden on winning the election. I do not think, and I have not seen between Trump and Netanyahu good vibes. Okay? You can say I'm wrong about that. But I'm just saying Netanyahu's gift to Trump was very vaguely threatening. The golden pagers blowing up. And I've always said from the very beginning, it's a very much frenemies dynamic. Now, all this said, what do people expect? Do people expect that Trump trying to get a domestic agenda passed is just going to go directly out publicly when even still most of his party, because, the younger MAGA base, okay, they don't really care about Israel or care for Israel, one or the other. But the older part of the Republican Party, the boomers, which are still numerous, they still are pro-Israel, right? People who watch Fox News all the time. You've got a Big Tent coalition. You got to play within the entire political structure of the country. So like, are people really so childish? Are they so impractical that they think that Trump is going to just be like, no, we're not helping Israel. We're not doing anything. We're like, screw Israel, blah, 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 blah. You think he's going to be able to say that publicly, even if it's how he feels? Don't you think, logically, he is going to have to maintain the appearance of the alliance, even if behind the scenes, there is a huge wrangling and tension between Israel trying to pull U.S. into a war and U.S. not wanting it? This war is completely deception-based. There are so many psychological operations going on with this stuff. So many psychological operations going on. So if you are somebody who's literally taking everything at face value, there's a good rule. People have been saying this, especially with Trump. Before you make any judgment call on anything, you wait 48 to 72 hours. You got to wait 2 to 3 days to see how things shake out. We're like not even 12 hours after the strike, right? Now, maybe we are 12 hours after it now. It's we're a little bit past half a day since the strike happened, right? And we're already learning some very, very interesting things. It's actually interesting because Romeo mentioned this and he just dropped it in the chat for you guys, but I have this as one of my slides. So Lord Bebo, by the way, Lord Bebo is one of these, I don't know if he's actually American or whatever, but he's always like doing the Russian shitpost thing, which by the way, a lot of these Russian accounts, I just want to say this, totally retarded when it comes to America. In the same way that they correctly have said that a lot of American accounts are really bad at understanding things in Russia and Ukraine, which I completely agree. Man, these people are totally stupid when it comes to understanding America and Trump. By the way, I don't blame them. They obviously have a very reasonable axe to grind against the United States. But I have noticed this with Europeans more generally. They just don't understand the US. They don't understand MAGA. They don't understand the changes that are going on within the country. So it's always just like they're 20 years past, just like we have like a 20 years antiquated perspective on Russia. They have a 20 years antiquated perspective on the United States. Fair enough. We all are stupid in our own ways. But anyway, so back to this Lord Bebo thing. It's very interesting, right? Iran's nuclear facilities were evacuated and equipment moved out days in advance. U.S. publicly announced and made the upcoming strikes visible. We all saw the bombers moving in place and the news coverage predicting the strike. The U.S. hence struck an empty Iranian nuclear facility since the Iranians knew and evacuated it. U.S. satellites showed the evacuation of the facilities by the Iranians. Hence, the Americans knew the facility are empty and not operational. U.S. and Iran held secret talks in Oman days before. No one knows what was agreed upon. Trump essentially explained that such a deal was done previously. And I'll talk about that video in a moment. The only logical conclusion is that Iran and USA made a secret deal to end the war. USA strikes empty facilities. Iran will retaliate but miss, like in the video explained. Just watch for the Iran response, not the words, but the actual physical response. If it's not too harsh on casualties but looks big, I'm right. It's a geopolitical observation I made. I could be wrong. People need to understand that the governments are not telling us the truth most of the time, and that not everything is as it seems. The authorities need consent, so they make shows for you. Okay, and we have this too. This is when, and John Hare, this is Patriot Patel. He talked a lot about the continuity of government stuff. So the clip at the bottom, I'm not playing the clip. To be honest, I haven't learned how to play the clip yet on this thing. I probably should play around with it one of these times and see how it works. Probably not complicated. But at any rate, in the clip, Trump talks about how in a prior situation with Iran, that I think it was after he killed Soleimani, Iran said that they have to retaliate for it, but they're going to make sure that they miss. It was like a respect thing between the two of them, so that they can show their populations, hey, we're going to do something, but without actually making things really bad, right? So there's a precedent for this already happening, and we see Iran evacuated the 3 nuclear sites targeted by the U.S. some time ago. So Iran evacuated their nuclear facilities in the middle of a war with Israel, which we're told was only ever started because Iran was working towards building a nuclear missile. It's almost as if, trust the fucking plan, right? Trump, if this is correct, okay, and I'm going to say, I think that there are 2 possible interpretations. You can take the sort of surface take, which is that, and which is what I said earlier today, which is that Trump hit Iran because he had to, but it's limited, and hopefully there's not going to be more escalation, but he was constrained. had this pressure on him, and he has to do something without taking it too far, right? Or there's this element that there's some degree of theater, or maybe we don't really know what the deal is with the Iranian leadership. We don't like, there are different factions within these countries. Is it possible? Is it possible that some of the really bad people who we don't want, the Davos controlled people in Iran's government, have been taken out? I don't know the answer to that. I don't want to like oversell this stuff because I'm really not into like massive speculation. Um, it's fair enough just to say we don't know. But if Trump, who's forced to take Israel's side publicly, Israel instigates a fight with Iran, right? Maybe you have some hardliners in Iran who won't, you know, who won't get rid of the nuke or whatever. So Israel attacks Iran, and then there's this escalation going up. Trump destroys Iran's nuclear facility, and then what is Israel supposed to do? How's the war supposed to continue, right? Now, this doesn't mean I don't think that Iran's going to retaliate. Of course they're going to retaliate, but how do they retaliate? Now, I don't know if maybe it's going to be some missiles that are going to miss American stuff, or maybe it's going to be this. This is interesting to me. Now, this is not Iran's military account, and I have to be honest, I don't know. I've seen other people say this, that an Iranian official or general said this. I think it's an Iranian brigadier general said that fuel ships will not pass to Europe through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. Now, why this is interesting is that if you accept the premise that I have, right? The premise that I have, which is that Trump is fighting this globalist cult, which is based in Europe, Davos, City of London, whatever. If you're viewing it through this lens, and the result of this is that Iran's retaliation is to close the Strait of Hormuz, it's actually fucking Europe the most. It's fucking Davos the most. That's where they're getting much of their oil at this point. So how is this supposed to, it's not going to matter as much to the US. I mean, I'm not saying it won't impact global oil supply, but this is not going to affect things when it comes for most of America's, oil supply, right? Again, I'm just throwing this out there, but I'm encouraging people to look beneath the surface. This is not so simple as Israel bad, Iran good. It's not what's going on. It's not what's going on. It may very well be that there are factions within Iran's government. Maybe, although I'm skeptical about it, I don't. Let me just say this. Let me say this. We don't really know who pulls the strings in a lot of these countries. If you guys go back to North Korea under Trump's first term, there was all this stuff back and forth. North Korea was the big issue, right? And then there was this massive earthquake in North Korea, right, in their facility, killed tons and tons of scientists and other people. And then after that, Trump and Kim Jong-un are like best friends, and North Korea has not bothered anybody anymore. So was somebody forcing Kim Jong-un to be a fucking nutcase? Are we seeing the same thing with Iran? And again, I don't have clear answers to this. But what I can tell you is clear is that the narrative that Trump's Zionist stooge helping Israel, we're going back into endless Middle East wars, is just fucking retarded. It's just a fucking retarded position. It's a hysterical position. And it's already, we'll see where things go. I'm not saying that there won't be some escalation, but I'm going to tell you this. You are not going to get me freaking out about this until US is literally invading Iran. And Trump says we need to start to overthrow the Iranian regime in the name of democracy, and I'm authorizing expeditionary force. Then you're going to get me like, okay, I'm wrong. At some point, they got the Trump because there's absolutely no way this is good. But if you're talking about like a few airstrikes, whether or not it's kabuki theater or whether or not it's real, it doesn't matter. This is not World War III. Get your fucking panties out of your nutsack. This is insane to me. It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. It's like this massive PTSD from the global war on terror, and it's like they have no idea who they're dealing with. Like Lindsey Graham and Netanyahu are going to praise Trump for this strike, partially because optically it makes them look good, but partially because they're trying to encourage him to continue down that road. So even if behind the scenes it was just kabuki theater and they didn't, and what Trump's doing is taking away Israel's opportunity to continue the escalation, which is genius. They have to praise it. What is Netanyahu going to say? He's going to say, no, it wasn't, this really, we want more, or, he's going to contradict the president when the president says that the sites were not destroyed. He's going to go on they have to praise it. They have to praise this. So there's more to this as well. Okay. And the more to this has to do with Iran's role in connection to Davos. So we talked a little bit about the oil stuff, but do you guys, I'm going to see if this is still fucking cold. Opening up a little bit. Man, I really shouldn't have done that. I should have just left it on the counter. I should know better, guys. I should have known better. Because it really shut it down. Does anyone remember that Obama gave Iran a ton of money? I'm not talking about digital money. I'm talking about pallets of cash before he left office. January 17th, 2016, 400 million. January 22nd, 1.3 billion. February 5th, 10 million. Donald Trump called Barack Obama the founder of ISIS. He's the founder. Make sense yet? Okay, this one specifically here is for people saying Iran is the good guy. It's not about the Iranian people. I have zero bad things to say about the Iranian people. Frankly, from what I've been seeing, pretty positive things about it. By the way, this is true in a lot of countries. You know what I mean? It's true in most countries, even Israel. Oh no, oh my God, League is going to say even Israel. Yeah, even Israel. Okay, a lot of good Israelis, and just because they have their positions on the Palestinians, look, it's their country, and they'd be crazy not to think that way. It doesn't mean that I think that way objectively, but if you have some degree of understanding of what it's like to be in their situation, you can call it inhuman behavior the way they treat the Palestinians. You absolutely can call it that. I'm just going to tell you though, if you're an Israeli and you're living in this tense environment with these people, and you've been living in a tense environment with them for 80 years, you don't care. You don't give a fuck. You want them gone, and you might even want them dead. And we can say in the rest of the world that that's really inhuman, and it is a little inhuman, but that it's a eschatological conflict, right? These are two people who despise each other permanently. So why are we bent out of shape that they do Palestinians have amazing view of Israelis? No, they don't have as amazing view of Israelis. Well, it's because of what the Israelis did to them. I mean, whatever. I don't care. Okay. The thing is, that's their thing. They have their thing. They have their issue with each other. There are good people in all these countries. It's the globalist government that's the problem. That's the problem. Okay. Which Netanyahu, you're not going to convince me. I think Tom Luongo's reaching. I think he's reaching by trying to say stuff that Bibi Netanyahu's maybe being controlled by Trump, or that there's been flip. I don't believe this stuff at all. I don't. I think he is total embedded in this entire system. Not a good person. No redeeming this. In my opinion, no redeeming this. But I do think that there's a game being played. And if Trump did bomb this site, these sites, but the Iranians already evacuated them, and it's all kabuki theater. And the worst thing maybe that comes of it is that Europe gets its oil shut off. I think that you're starting to see that there's some shifting alliances and things going on behind the scenes. The entire point here is we have three big international tension points, right? Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Iran, China, Taiwan. China, Taiwan is absolutely coming at some point in the future. You can expect it. It's coming. There's going to be some sort of provocation to instigate conflict there. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but just expect every single one of these things to occur at some point. Tim has a good point here. Payments to Iran were part of a strategy to destabilize the region. Many large payments went to opposing groups in the Middle East. Yeah, this stuff went to funding Hezbollah, Hamas, right? Probably the Houthis as well. It was to fund terror groups. And it may have been to fund some of the stuff with the nuclear development. So the point here is that there's definitely more going on than meets the eye, and we just have to be prepared for this. Trump had to do something, okay? The way it was being boxed in, and again, there's a lot of opaqueness here. I'm not telling you I have the entire pieces of this puzzle put together, because I do not have all the pieces of the puzzle put together. There's some incongruencies here, and I don't know if that has to do with the factions or what involved with the countries, because you have, on one hand, Iran's acting in bad faith, helping to facilitate the war by moving forward with proliferation, right? On the other hand, did Trump and Iran have an agreement to pretend to do damage to each other? So does that mean that Iran's government is trying to not have war, or does it mean that they are trying to have war? Who was killed in Israel's strikes? My suspicion is that there is an effort here by Trump to either take out or sideline the people in the governments of Iran, and perhaps at some point Israel too, that are trying to pursue aggressive policy. So I'm sure that there are people in Iran's government who do not want this to go this direction, and maybe Trump is doing things to help facilitate for them, right? We will see how it plays out. But what I want you guys to take away from here is that you cannot lose your core set of assumptions and understandings when it comes to the world. There has to be something really profound that challenges it. If you have a set of assumptions that's worked to explain so much of what's going on, you can't discard them because you have one piece of information that doesn't work on the surface. Now, eventually, if you have one piece of information that really is inconsistent and it's glaring and there's no other explanation, then maybe you have something wrong with your set of assumptions. But Trump firing some missiles, whether it's theater or not, does not make him a Zionist. The whole thing in Syria, back, I think it was in 2017, after that, white helmets, false flag, chemical attack, whatever, when he had all the neocons telling him to go full hog into Syria, what did Trump do? Trump fired some missiles into a fucking empty warehouse, called it a win. Everyone, all the Zionist media praised him. And then what happened? What happened after that? Trump didn't do anything else, and they kept pushing him to do more, and he said, fuck you, basically. Okay? So we've seen this playbook before. People just gotta calm down. They gotta relax. And I'm gonna say this also. There is no this whole BRICS thing. BRICS, the fucking BRICS. BRICS are doing this, BRICS are doing that. They're not a monolithic group. A lot of it's just some surface level psyop shit. Bullshit. You know, our best ally Russia, our best ally Iran. Here's the actual stuff. Right? Putin says he's not supporting Iran because Israel has a lot of Russians. Iran's firing missiles at Israel, and Saudi Arabia and Iraq are shooting them down. Okay? Notice no one has Iran's back. Not any Middle Eastern country, not China, not Russia. The world at large approves of these strikes. No one wanted a nuclear Iran, not even the ostensible allies of Iran. That's why World War III talk is so absurd. The world supports Trump. The nuclear club does not want more members joining it. They don't. Now, China, I am sure, because China gets a lot of their oil from Iran, I'm sure that China is supporting Iran in some ways. I heard something about some satellite system that they were letting Iran use that may have helped Iran's ballistic missiles. Whatever. China was giving Ukraine drones up until a couple months ago. So China has an interest in keeping a lot of these conflicts going. It's a win for China if these other countries are weakened. I think Russia and Trump, however, may have some kind of accord going on. Because what's interesting is that, and we're going to see about this, is more money going to be authorized for Ukraine? I don't see any of it coming right now. I'm not saying they won't get anything, but since this whole thing has been starting with Iran, it's almost like Russia's being given a lot more carte blanche in Ukraine, especially since, Ukraine's attack against the Russian nuclear fleet. It really seems like Trump has kind of washed his hands. I'm not saying he's not going to step back into it, but you can feel that you can see that agreements are being made. Okay? Now, there's just a couple more things I want to show you guys because some of this stuff is very interesting to me. Hold on a second. See, one of these things should have been here, but it is not. One second. I'm going to add the slide here real quick. I have it. Where did it go? Okay. So for you plan trusters out there, did you notice that Trump was on Truth Social 3 famous Q phrases? Remember, he said this recently in an interview. He said, "I was the hunted, and now I'm the hunter." These are all famous Q expressions. Trust the plan. Nothing can stop what is coming. Man, there's a lot of Q stuff. Q like deltas and whatever connected to this Iran stuff. I'm not bringing all this stuff into it here because I do not want to be the Q guy and getting all the schizo stuff with trying to track all of the connections. To me, it's enough to say that it's obviously real. Okay, Dan Scavino, people asked him for some proof, and Dan Scavino put something. Dan Scavino, by the way, was in the Situation Room during this Iran strike thing. So it's the only things that you can say about the Q thing are twofold. You can either be cynical and say Trump's pushing Q because he wants people to be Q-tards because then they're delusional plan trusters, right? You can say that, or you can say Q is real and there is a plan and we're all going to make it and let's just be happy and chill. You can't say anymore that Q is fake. You can't say it. You can't say that it's not, that there's nothing, no connection between Trump and it. At this point, there's just so much overall. He's like directly telling you. So I wanted to mention that. And the last thing I want to end on here is just to tie this all into, in the early season 1 COVID cabal, we used to season 1 COVID cabal, we did a lot more esoteric stuff. So it's starting to come back, by the way, guys. It's taking this entire hour for this wine to just start to open up. So maybe I'll do that first. It's not there yet, really, but I had this last night. Really beautiful body. Like a very smooth, silky Cabernet Franc, Saumur, Champigny, Loire Valley, beautiful appellation. I was really appreciative to get this. We had a solstice party last night, and one of the guys there brought this bottle of wine. And I'm a snob, and this is Poland, so be honest, I was expecting nothing really too special. It's a really nice bottle. So, cheers to you, Leszek. Thank you for that. I wanted to go talk about the astrology. Okay, so this is the MAGA astrologer. Really, really interesting account. I'm not going to say he's got every single thing correct, but he's certainly been very good at pointing out the broader trends. When he gets too micro, like most astrologers, he gets some things off. Although he's gotten a lot of things right also with the micro. But he's been very good at showing the bigger trends. So let's see what he has to say here. The stars are our map. The triple outer planet conjunction of Saturn, Uranus, Neptune in 1989 took down the Soviet Empire, but gave birth to the deep state globalist empire, which grew and strengthened for 31 years. The deep state globalist empire finally made its move in 2020 to achieve total global dominance due to the triple outer planet conjunction of Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn in 2020. But that campaign failed when Pluto left Capricorn in 2024. And now the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries 2025 to 26 at the midpoint of the Uranus-Pluto trine will bring the end of the deep state globalist empire. As I predicted over a decade ago, the 2020 and 2026 alignments are like bookends, which together will define the 2020 crisis and will cleanse the world of the deep state and bring a new era of peace and prosperity in a new golden age. I have to tell you guys, what have I said on this show? Okay? I've said I think that this stuff gets cleared up by July 4th, 2026. Now, I don't know the astrology specifically for 2026 that he's referring to, but I've kept saying Trump has about a year for all this stuff to play out. And I really think that that's what's going to happen. I think we are going to see this progress to that point. I do think that there's going to be the mass arrest sooner than a year from now. But I'm just saying that, guys, just be a little patient. We're still a few years in the Trump's term. He's got to get things set up. These are desperate moves that the deep state's doing right now. We are getting close to the end game. You can feel it. You can feel it with the population's reaction to the migration. You can feel it with everything. And the last thing I'll say is that if this stuff does escalate with Iran, and if there is some domestic terror attack, is that, please understand what I'm trying to say here, okay? I don't know how bad that terror attack is going to be. I hope if there is a terror attack, virtually nobody is hurt or killed, whatever, okay? But the bottom line is this. If this entire spat between Israel and Iran has super exposed the political classes controlled by foreign countries, while the public is so against it, that in itself is a huge win. You never saw this stuff in the past with MAGA being so, the public being so anti-war and the political class still so delusional. Okay? So it's been in a big exposure operation as it is. But if it ends with Trump needing to deploy, if this may become some kind of pretext for Trump to have to deal with things domestically, because if the deep state's doing terror attacks domestically and ostensibly because of Iran, then it moves things forward on the board. I don't know how this is going to go. I don't want innocent people to be killed or hurt. I'm just saying, guys, There's more going on here than meets the eye, and I think it's pretty clear that the deep state's days are numbered. And while we can't predict exactly when there's going to be mass arrest or whether this is the scare event, I still think we have more intensification to go. But trust the plan. Trust Trump, the man who has totally given his life to this mission, literally. He's all in. You cannot doubt people who are all in like that. If you have to lean on some assumptions, you lean on that assumption. You trust Trump because Trump has proven himself time and time again to be trustworthy. So if your analysis is that we can't trust Trump, I think that you're a fucking retard. That is the honest to God truth. I really do not think you get it at all. And you're not good at reading people. So I hope, whether you're cautious, whether you're not super engaged with what Trump's doing, you think that Trump's being pushed, fair enough. Maybe you don't think Trump's fully in control. Fair enough. But don't doubt his character. If you're doubting his character, I really just don't think you get it. You don't get it at this point in time. And you're never going to get it. You're going to keep getting manipulated by people like Nick Fuentes, who are, frankly, whatever true things that he may say, he's a bad faith actor. He's a bad faith actor. He's not constructive. There's nothing constructive there. And you can always tell when someone's a bad faith actor because they are never trying to direct you anywhere but down. All right, guys. I will see you on the next show. God bless. We're all going to make it. And cheers.